Welcome back. In honor of the last day before November, the men of 6 News got together to sit down for a great cause. Our Haley Herzog has a story.
After Shave Barbershop usually shaves around 4 customers a day, but on the morning of October 31st, they had the men of 6 News roll in, all for the sake of men's health.
Getting shaved like this is really showing that, we're taking steps forward for cancer awareness and men's health.
Despite all of their different stories, they came together as a team for one cause.
Well, I think we all have our own personal stories that deal with men's health. Mine was more, with weight loss. But we all have our personal stories. But this kind of ties us all together and just brings general awareness to, men's health.
And for some of them, this pampering experience is a first.
This is the first time I'm actually going to get a really clean-cut shave. I mean, I've done the razors and everything, but to actually have a professional do it, I'm looking forward to it.
Whew. Although they may leave the barbershop with a clean shave,
I shaved about 4 hours ago.
It won't last for long.
I've never not shaved for longer than a week because it gets pretty crazy, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to look like a werewolf by the end of the month, I can promise you that.
All of them will be leaving their facial hair untouched for the month of November. As a stance of solidarity for men's health across the nation, the men are putting down their razors and putting on a smile, despite what may or may not be covering it.
I know that I can't grow a really good beard, so it's going to be pretty hilarious whatever happens.
All of the money the men would normally put towards buying razors will also be donated to No Shave November and Movember funds for men's health awareness. In Oklahoma's Haley Herzog, 6 News.
And you can find both the links for those donation sites on the Scene on 6 section of WLNS.com.
Well, our special Friends for Life series continues now with a personal story of reclaiming one's health. And tonight we're talking about obesity. It's a growing problem that now affects 1/3 of all Americans.
Now the impact is being overweight and being obese can lead to some very serious health problems. And doctors tell us those extra pounds can actually increase your risk of high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, and even some cancers.
And sometimes the weight can kind of creep up on you before you even notice it.
And that's what happened to our chief meteorologist, David Young.
But as you're about to see, he's reclaimed his life and shows us that with some simple changes, you can too.
I've been in television news for close to 20 years, so let's just say I've seen more than my share of healthcasts. Of course, there are stories on health and obesity, so I can't tell you how many times I've seen this kind of video. It's what you typically see when you watch a healthcast, and it's a story about obesity. I just never imagined that one day that story would be about me. This is where you typically see me, on the green screen giving you the forecast. This is me, though, back in January. Let's freeze it right here. Wow, what a difference. I was close to 300 pounds, and even at 6'2", that's a lot of weight, the kind of weight that can be dangerous, and that's where my journey to being healthy began. My wife Shannon was worried about me. I knew my weight was up, but I didn't want to believe it was affecting me so much.
He was really tired all the time. He wasn't interested in doing the things that we normally like to do. Honestly, I thought he was depressed because he was just so tired all the time and, took naps when he would come home on his dinner break from work, and that was just so unlike him.
It was hard to even run across the yard playing with my kids. I knew for myself, for them, for my future, if I was going to have one, I had to do something. I decided to take back my life, and I knew the place to start was with my family doctor. To add to my weight problem, vitamin D was low, reducing my desire to get up and do anything. Dr. Smith says the most obvious signs of low vitamin D vary greatly. Some people may have only subtle symptoms. In my case, though, fatigue, feeling blue, and being achy were enough for a blood test, and it confirmed my levels were very low. That's where we began. I started right away replacing my vitamin D and saw an instant increase in my energy. It was then time to burn some calories. I started slowly, just walking with some very slow runs mixed in. That turned into running a half mile, then a mile, and now I average 2 to 3 miles per day. I also got back into kayaking and just enjoying the outdoors again. Just 20 minutes or so exercise per day is my minimum, but I often do a few extra things to burn a few extra calories. Under Dr. Smith's guidance, I started eating healthier too. My wife always ate healthy, so she didn't mind that at all. The pounds, they started coming off, first slowly, but then a few pounds a week. As of today, I am down 80 pounds. My life has changed for the better, and I don't ever want to go back. It's just the opposite. I want to continue going forward to enjoying each day with my family and my friends. If there's ever a down day, I just tell myself, one day that little girl of yours, She's going to get married. You will be there to give her away and to have your daddy-daughter dance. And for those like me in their 40s wondering what they need to do to start their journey, Dr. Smith says the best way to begin your journey is to first visit your local doctor. Make sure you're healthy enough for exercise. Good nutrition, that is critical. While burning calories is an important part of losing weight, replacing vitamins and minerals you lose is as well. Finally, make a plan for the long haul. A diet and some exercise for a month is great, but a sustainable lifestyle change is what will really lead you on your journey to reclaiming good health.
Oh, such important tips.
Thank you for sharing that story with us.
Thank you so much.
Sometimes talking about weight can be a little sensitive subject, but I just thought, you know, if it can help somebody else out there who's thinking about getting off the couch, let me get this out there.
You're a great, inspiring example that it can happen and work. All right, tell us about this. You said it was kind of the weight kind of crept up on you.
Right.
We work with you every day, and I got to say, I mean, you carried it really well, but what was the time span there? What are you talking about?
You know, when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, we all put on the sympathy weight. I just kept putting it on afterwards. So it took 4 or 5 years, and I went from roughly 220, 230 to 300 pounds, but it happened over the course of 4 or 5 years.
Right. What was the hardest part, though, really, about losing that weight?
Yeah.
You know, probably the hardest part for me is because we have the 11 o'clock news. So you get home, you're hungry, it's midnight, and you want to have a snack.
Oh, yeah, right.
I cut out snacking after 9, and I cut out sugary pop. Those were the 2 hardest things, and after I did those 2 things, that combined with exercise, you know, the pounds just slowly started coming off.
Right.
Good job.
Yeah, excellent
Thank you.
job. And you start to feel better, so it kind of like is a wonderful, happy
It's
circle
contagious
there, right?
with yourself. Once you start feeling better, you want to do it more.
Gotcha. All right, David. Thank you again for being so open and sharing all of this. Well, it is time to continue our special Friends for Life series looking at men's health. And tonight we have an important story from our sports director, Fred Heumann. And a question for everybody tonight. Do you like going to the doctor? For a lot of people, especially men, the answer is simply no.
That's right. But not taking the time to make that appointment and get checked out every year puts you at risk for not catching any problems in time to actually fix them.
Yeah, and tonight we follow along as Uncle Fred walks us through what it's like to get a physical and why, in his case, it was a good thing he made that appointment and kept it.
Where are we going today?
We're going right over here.
Most of us middle-aged men usually groan when it's time to go see our doctor. Many of us don't bother groaning. We just don't bother going.
I'm going to have you swallow for me, Fred. That's good.
Dr. Tom Jameson has been a practicing physician for 43 years, all in Lansing. Several of his years here, he has served as a team doctor for various local high school athletic teams. He is also my family physician, who started seeing me in 1981.
It's called a palmomental reflex.
Palmo who?
Palmomental.
Oh. Jameson says it's important for men of all ages to keep an eye on their health and have regular physical checkups.
Well, they're very important, especially starting some people at the age of 20, other ones at the age of 30, some at the age of 40, but depending on family histories. But everybody at least should start with the age of 40 to start to have an annual physical exam.
Yes, once we hit 40, it's imperative that we do it every year. But middle-aged men are by and large reluctant to schedule yearly checkups. We seem to have a lot of excuses. We're too busy, we can't get time off work, we don't like doctors, blah, 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 blah.
I know a lot of guys my age that haven't seen a doctor in 15 years. How much of that do you run into? Because that stuns me.
Well, it's common. The problem is they may not have someone that's confident that they can go to. Some people just wait for something to happen or a symptom to occur. You know, one of the common things would be the cardiac issues. You know, sometimes somebody will come in and think they're resilient to everything, and they may have a cardiac issue going on that needs to be dealt with immediately.
Such was the case with me. I woke up one morning in early June with chest discomfort. It only lasted about an hour. I should have gone to the hospital immediately. Instead, I went to work. I played the denial card. I saw Dr. Jameson 4 days later. He sent me to a cardiologist immediately. There, I failed a standard stress test, was hospitalized, had surgery the next morning. A stent was placed in my heart to correct a 90% blockage in one of my valves. Had I not listened to Dr. J and not gotten the checkup, most certainly I would have suffered a heart attack. I was one of the lucky ones. I am now on daily medication and partake in regular cardiac exercise at least 3 days a week, should be going 6 days a week. I am not in perfect health, but annual checkups have so far kept me out of serious trouble.
And this is called the mind-muscle connection, okay? Ready? 1, 2, breathe out, 3.
Other than 2 or 3 pounds overweight, how am I doing?
You're doing pretty good. You got through an issue that you know about, and you're doing great from that, and you're doing great with your recovery on your knee, and plus you're listening to directions to follow better health, and you're doing a good job with it.
Picture of health, right?
Picture of health.
All right, let's color a gift horse in the mouth. I am not a picture of health, and I'm more than 2 pounds overweight, okay? I don't think there's any secret about that. But the message here, and I thought about not going public with this.
Yeah.
I don't think you knew about it.
I didn't know. I'm crying here.
Nobody knew about it. Sherry knew about it, but I haven't shared it with many people because it's not something I wanted to share.
Right.
But I decided to because we're there for you, right? And we're doing this to send a message. The message is I was stubborn. I'm a stubborn German. I didn't need a doctor. I didn't need a physical. There was nothing wrong with my heart.
Right.
But by doing my standard checkup and listening to my body, I don't want to say it saved my life. I don't want to be over dramatic about this, but I would have a lot more problems than I'm having today.
Probably. So I'm so glad that you are okay.
Stop
How are
crying,
you?
Jane.
I know, but I didn't know this. So how
Touch
are
me.
you?
I'm here, babe.
How are you feeling now?
Feeling great.
Okay,
The exercise has been, Ramon Lura is my trainer. He's been terrific. Sparrow Cardiac Rehab, which I go to 3 days a week, has been helpful. And I've exercised more in the last 6 months than I probably have in 6 years.
Thank you for being proactive.
Well, now the next step is to do what David Young did and lose about 80 pounds.
You can do it, Fred.
That'll be next year's story. That'll be next year's story.
Good for you, Fred. I'm glad you're okay.
I hope.
Our special Friends for Life series continues tonight, and throughout the history of time, men have lived with women. And probably since the beginning of time, men have occasionally been nagged by women, wanting them to take better care of themselves.
Yeah, well, that's certainly been the case for my husband, Kip. And a couple of years ago, he came down with what he thought was the flu, and all he wanted to do is stay home and rest, of course, but I strongly encouraged him to go to the doctor, and as it turned out, it was good he listened. For many years, it always seemed like pulling teeth to get my husband, Kip, to go to the doctor. First of all, he's always been in pretty good health, so if he got sick, like a lot of guys, he'd just stay home, suck it up, and let it pass.
Kip. You too. Come on.
But 4 years ago, something dramatic happened.
I woke up that morning feeling like I really had the flu very quickly, and I kind of curled up in a ball and didn't want to move.
Thanks. You know, 4 years ago that morning, Kip would have gladly stayed in bed. But when I looked at him, something just didn't seem right.
Like a typical guy, I said, no, I'm fine, just leave me alone and I'll feel a lot better. But she insisted. She brought me here.
Here, to the office of Dr. David Paussat in East Lansing.
Take some deep breaths, Kip.
It took Dr. Paussat less than 5 minutes to determine that Kip had more than the flu. He immediately called the emergency room in town to make sure that Kip got seen right away. After many hours and many tests at the hospital, we found out that Kip had adult-onset type 2 diabetes. We had no idea. His blood sugar that day was sky high, enough to put him in a diabetic coma if left untreated.
Certainly the flu can show up with a lot of symptoms of diabetes.
It was obvious to me as his
Right.
wife, because I was thinking, I've seen you with the flu before, and there's something off here.
Right.
So I trusted that, too.
And that's sometimes a woman's intuition.
Since being diagnosed, Kip has lost over 25 pounds, controls his blood levels with medication, eats a lot better, even when I'm not around to nag, and he even started biking to make sure he gets enough regular exercise.
And it's not uncommon, Kip. I mean, we oftentimes as guys, we kind of think we can just push through these things and somehow it'll get better. Thank God for our wives. They kind of have a different way of looking at healthcare and at our health.
And that was something so serious that God only knows what may have happened.
Yeah, Jane's persistence was probably life-saving.
Yeah. Well,
right.
I'm glad she's a persistent woman.
And I'm glad that Kip listened that day when I lovingly said, get your butt in the car.
Well, I guess it shows that sometimes nagging does work, doesn't it?
It does
right?
in this case, of course. Obviously, I'm so appreciative of Kip to share his private story like this with you all. I'm grateful to Dr. Posset and Sparrow Hospital for their great medical care. And since that time, 4 years ago, Sherry, I got to tell you that my husband and I have learned a lot about type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely. It can impact both men and women.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the symptoms actually can appear like other issues. For example, his vision started to get bad and he just thought he needed a new pair of glasses. And he seemed tired a lot and was always thirsty, which are two more classic symptoms of diabetes.
You know, it seems like really all the stories that we've been sharing with you comes down to one thing: go to the doctor and really get the help that you need.
Yeah, get it checked out, exactly. And if something seems off or you get a gut feeling, ladies, don't dismiss it. It's good to trust our women's intuition.
Our special Friends for Life series continues tonight. For more than 2 decades, radio listeners across mid-Michigan woke up to the voice of Rich Michaels.
Yeah, you might remember him as the popular and outspoken host of the Rich Michaels in the Morning show that dominated Lansing radio.
But what we're going to share with you tonight has nothing to do with Rich's glory days. In fact, just a few months ago, Rich was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer.
Now, Rich hasn't told a lot of people about this. In fact, at times he says he even denied it. But tonight, Rich breaks his silence to hopefully inspire you to take control of your health now.
I recently accompanied Rich on one of his chemotherapy treatments, and he shared with me how he wants everyone to know how important it is to get a colonoscopy.
Tell you what, can you call back?
For years, this is where you could find Rich Michaels, in front of a microphone, playing music and telling stories that entertain listeners around mid-Michigan. But now, he's telling a different story, one he hopes will save lives.
Well, you learn you're not immortal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, this is a wake-up call.
And a very serious wake-up call at that. It started last March. After losing 2 people close to him, Rich decided to get a colonoscopy, even though he wasn't having any health problems.
I think I want to do this test. I don't really want to. I've heard about it, and guys are always, when it comes to colonoscopies, are like, yeah, there's nothing going back near there, that's an exit, yada, yada. Well, you know, you need to lose that. That's just plain ignorance.
But when the test was over, the doctor delivered news Rich was not prepared to hear. They had found a tumor, and he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer.
Your first reaction is you're absolutely horrified. When you hear the C word, everything just completely crashes. But then you learn that you're going to learn about it and you're going to fight. I've always been a real tough outer shell, and you hear cancer and you just figure, well, that's the end.
But with the help of his doctors and a stringent chemotherapy treatment, Rich is fighting back. Colon cancer is one of the most common forms of cancer in men, but it can be caught early with a colonoscopy.
You know, I tell people, gee whiz, you have this prep, and yes, that's awful. It's awful for everybody. But if you get a clean colonoscopy, you don't have to do it again for 10 years, unless you have a family history. But if you don't get a clean colonoscopy and you have polyps, thank goodness they can take them out.
It's better to know about this early and have good chances of prevention than once symptoms show up and then you can't. So, you know, be a man and face it and take it head on.
Despite his diagnosis, Rich says he's glad he was proactive and says it's just another mountain for him to climb.
To me, I'm looking at this as staying optimistic, and
absolutely,
we nailed it, and this is going to reduce the chance. Now that we caught it rather than later.
That's right. We're doing everything we can do to make your chances as good as they can be.
Well, Rich is joining us now live in the studio. I know, Rich, how hard this has been for you. And now when the word first got out, kind of leaked out, you denied it. Why did you do that?
Anybody who's been through things like this in their life, it's earth-shattering, traumatic. You hear the C word, and man, I look depressed in that video. This is an off chemo week, so I'm feeling a lot better right now. My message is, and forgive me if it's kind of short, but drop your pride and drop your drawers, because it can save your life. Drop your pride, especially guys. get it done. It's really that simple. And in my case, I believe it's saving my life. Thank you guys for doing this for people. Yeah. Fred's story inspired me. I just re-signed my gym membership today. So.
Thanks a lot, Rich. Jane, we're going to send it back to you.
Okay.
Our special Friends for Life series focusing on men's health continues tonight. And cancer, it's a scary word, especially for anyone diagnosed with it, as well as for their family.
It's most often a long battle that, as we know all too well, doesn't always have a good outcome.
But what if we told you there's one medication in particular that can not only treat cancer, but virtually cure it in mere weeks? Sounds impossible, right?
Well, it's not. And Lauren Thompson joins us now to tell us all about it.
Sherry Jane, 40 years ago, testicular cancer was a death sentence. Nearly 90% of testicular cancer patients died because it's such a fast-moving form of cancer. But today, it's an entirely different story. Not only do 95% of testicular cancer patients survive, the majority are cured of the disease. And it's all thanks to one drug. And get this, it was developed right down the road at MSU.
And I still look back like, what just happened?
It's been a roller coaster ride for Tyler Navin and his family. Just last spring, after battling unexplained back pain, he got a diagnosis he never saw coming.
I did a x-ray on my chest because I also was having some chest pain, and that's when my family doctor was like, whoa.
Stage 3 testicular cancer was quickly taking over Tyler's body. But as he, his wife, and 3 daughters faced the fear of cancer together, some good news. Testicular cancer can be treated and even cured quickly thanks to a so-called miracle drug.
When we see patients with testicular cancer, say, hey, we can do a good job for this patient usually.
Dr. Muhammad Hamdan is the Sparrow oncologist who treated Tyler. He says a chemo drug called cisplatin helped save Tyler's life.
This is like the penicillin-like for oncology.
While cisplatin is used to treat numerous forms of cancer, Dr. Hamdan says the cisplatin regimen is a game changer for testicular cancer, in some cases eradicating tumors almost immediately.
After the first treatment, back pain was completely gone. My neck went down, the lymph nodes went down.
But even with those instant effects, the treatment with cisplatin is grueling.
It was 5 days, 7 hours per day in a row.
That went on for 12 weeks, and Tyler's hair fell out as he battled nausea, all while being flushed with fluids to protect his kidneys from the toxicity of the drug.
I lost about 40 pounds in probably less than a month.
But 3 months later, Tyler walked out of Sparrow completely cancer-free, having no idea that the powerful drug that had just saved his life was developed just a few miles away at MSU. The brainchild behind it, this man, Barnett Rosenberg.
He apparently came out to the crowd of graduate students and made a comment to the effect that I've just found a new anti-cancer agent.
That was 1965, and just 3 years later, cisplatin, a platinum-based drug, was shown to shrink large tumors.
It was a very exciting time, as you can imagine.
James Heschley was an MSU student during the cisplatin discovery era, then later worked alongside Rosenberg in his lab. From 1968 to 1972, Heschley says Rosenberg's lab on campus was buzzing as a team of scientists worked to develop the drug and send it to clinical trials. Trials it almost never passed due to its toxicity on the body.
That was my role. I was to do the distribution studies and where did it go and what organs did it hit and how long did it stay.
Those findings showed cisplatin to be especially lethal to the kidneys. Heschley says they feared the drug would never be approved by the FDA because of it. But then another major discovery, as a study on cisplatin showed, when paired with 2 other drugs, the effects on testicular cancer were astounding.
Cisplatin saved testicular cancer, but testicular cancer saved cisplatin.
And now, decades later, cisplatin continues to be the backbone of treatment for testicular and many other cancers.
I would say 60% of cancer utilize cisplatin one way or the other.
It's been an amazing success story.
A success story that's saved countless lives, including Tyler's. Today, just 4 months after his treatment ended, he's healthy, back on his bike, racing more than 30 miles at a time, all while realizing every moment he has with his family is a gift.
I keep hearing these stories of friends or friends of family that have cancer, and sometimes it's like, wow, why am I the lucky one?
Wow. Yeah, it truly is an amazing story.
It's such an amazing story, and the fact that it came out of Michigan State University is just wonderful. What has it meant to the university?
Well, it's literally made MSU famous in the oncology world. And on top of that, royalties from the drug cisplatin have brought in more than $330 million into MSU over the years, and that's been used to support more sciences on campus.
Absolutely. That's a remarkable amount of money, but truly can't really put a price on the number of lives that this drug and the cocktail of drug has saved.
Yeah, no, you really can't. There's no way to count the number of lives it saved, first of all. Of course, that is just truly priceless.
Priceless indeed. Thank you, Lauren. Well, our special Friends for Life series dealing with men's health continues, and tonight we talk about skin cancer. It is projected that over 8,000 men in our country will die from melanoma this year, and men who are over the age of 50 are more than twice as likely as women to develop it and die from it. So why is that? Well, doctors say two things. They get more sun exposure, and they don't always go to the doctor to get checked. Well, our Jim Geyer spent several hours last week at the U of M Cancer Center personally undergoing an advanced procedure called Mohs micrographic surgery. Now, Jim had an area of skin cancer removed from his ear. Now, before you see Jim's story, we want you to know that the video is briefly graphic, but very important to watch.
What we'll do is we'll start where that biopsy scar was, right here. Okay. What we'll do is we'll numb this area up with the lidocaine, and then we'll use a curette to remove what we can see and feel of the skin cancer. And then we will get the tissue ready to send off to the lab. We'll process the tissue while you wait in the waiting room. It takes about an hour. At that time, we'll look at all the edges, the peripheral margin and the deep margin, and we'll look to see if we can find any skin cancer at any of the edges. If we do, we make a map. We'll bring it back. We'll take more in the direction we see it traveling. So we'll go back and forth until all the skin cancer is removed. And now we're going to get started and take a tiny little piece right around where you saw those dots.
Well, she has the piece out, and she's getting it ready to go to the lab.
Okay, you did great. We're going to get a bandage on your ear here.
Okay.
And we'll see what the tissue shows, okay?
All right.
This is how we make our map here to show you exactly. We have red and green ink, and that's how we determine under the microscope if there's anything positive where it is in the specimen.
Okay.
So we'll see what this shows, okay?
Okay. And now it's wait and see as I settle in with a book until results come back.
This circle here represents what he or she removed.
Yes.
And there's the white area is clear. The red area represents where she sees another little root.
Okay.
So we're just going to go after that root.
Just a little bit more.
Okay.
That's what the slides are showing, and it's the direction a little bit in your ear a little bit, not in very far at all.
I'm just fascinated you could map it all out like that.
It is very interesting. It allows us to spare tissue, so instead of having to go around the whole thing, we only have to go around just a small fraction of it.
Dr. Harms got back to work removing the last trace of cancer.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, let's do what this shows.
We'll walk you back out to the waiting room.
Okay. I think I know the way by now. Only about 30% of Mohs surgery patients have their cancer removed completely on the first try. With just a little bit left on my ear, I'm hoping that the second round will finish the job.
Mr. Geyer, we've got great news for you. All the skin cancer is removed.
Okay.
So what we'll do now is we'll remove the bandage and we'll take a look at that wound and we'll talk about how to heal that spot.
Okay, great.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, you did really great.
Well, I'm so glad you're here, Jim Geyer.
Me too.
It's good to see you here, and thank you so much for sharing your personal journey there with this. And I'm so glad that you got that growth checked out, because there are probably a lot of people that would choose to ignore it, right?
Yeah, I saw it myself. It was something not normal. So I went to my dermatologist, and that's where we found it. They took it out initially, had it biopsied, and then there you saw
the rest was history with the Mohs treatment. How successful is a Mohs treatment surgery?
This Mohs surgery, 99% or even a little bit higher than that, so it's almost 100%. They get it all.
They get it all, and it's important. Obviously, anytime, if you were going to say advice out there for anybody watching this is...
Yeah, if you see anything unusual, go to your doctor and get it checked out. They'll do the job, and all you're left with is just a little Band-Aid.
And you're doing okay.
It's healing.
It's healing. That's the good news. All right, Jim, so glad that you're okay. Again, appreciate your personal story there.
Why did he get it?
I'd probably be a millionaire if I could figure it all out.
Susan Berry's son, TJ, was a dream child, and it started literally day one. No labor pains. As a baby, he ate everything. There were no terrible twos. TJ was a straight-A student, neat, organized, motivated, an athlete, didn't smoke, didn't drink, didn't even swear.
When did you first notice that there was any kind of an issue?
Going into high school. It was going into high school. And I wish I know what happened, if something was said to him or if it was just, I mean, it started so healthily. I'm small, Mom. I want some muscles. You know, I'm puny, and it's better gonna help me in sports. So he started out lifting weights for an hour, and then it was 2 hours, and then it was 4 hours at the gym, and I'd go over to the gym. Why are you still here? What are you doing?
But it was the day TJ had his whole soccer team over for a pool party that Susan realized something was terribly wrong.
And he took off his shirt, and both my husband and I were like, oh my gosh, he looked so thin. But he had all layers of clothing on all the time, so we really couldn't tell. And when he took his shirt off, when he came in, I said, TJ, how much weight have you lost? And he just was like, Mom, we're doing 2-a-days at soccer, which is 2 practices a day. You know, and he said, I can't help it, man. You know, they're running us ragged.
Unsure, Susan took him to the doctor the very same week.
She goes, I don't want him walking. I don't want him cutting lawns. I want him all of his sports teams. And, you know, I'm like, what?
TJ had an eating disorder. The doctor diagnosed him with anorexia nervosa. And that was the beginning of what Susan calls a 9-year nightmare. Doctors and dietitians, therapists, tough love, trickery. It all followed from that week on and all throughout high school. TJ's ideal weight at 5'5", at minimum 110 pounds.
4 years, he never weighed a pound less, because then he couldn't play any of the sports. And God forbid he ever gained a pound beyond that. So he micromanaged that number on that scale for 4 years.
A typical meal for TJ consisted of celery, 0-fat cottage cheese, 0-fat bread, 0-fat butter spray, carrots, and egg whites. He chewed gum consistently to burn calories and stood as often as possible for the very same reason.
He didn't want to be skinny. He wanted to have muscles. He wanted to have a six-pack, like the Health magazine covers that he had about 100 of them under his bed. He wanted to be quicker and faster and stronger and look good.
But no good came from this illness, and nothing and no one could help him. A short time later, not only was TJ's body changing, but the illness was making Susan's once angel child lie right to her face.
So not only are you battling the disease, you're battling the patient who's trying to lie and hide. And
you almost wished it could have been a cancer.
I do.
Why?
I wish it could have been anything but an eating disorder. It's the only illness that the patient does not want to get well.
Yeah. Boy, is that heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
Siobhan here. There's more to this story. It continues, Siobhan.
Yeah, coming up tonight on 6 News at 11. It only gets worse from this point on. As soon as TJ turned 18, Susan lost all control over him. So she couldn't force him to go to the doctor. She couldn't force him to go to the dietitians, to see the therapist. He said, sorry.
Sorry.
And that's exactly what the illness wanted. He wanted to be on his own, you know?
Yeah.
And the last line you heard where she said, you know, I asked her, I said, you almost wish this could have been cancer. And she said, I wish it could have been anything but an eating disorder. And that's
hard to get your mind around. It's very difficult to get your mind around.
But it's so difficult to get yourself out of that.
Right. Well, and my mom passed away from breast cancer when I was 16. And so that line, I was like,
yeah,
but I get it.
Yeah,
you know, I get it. You know, she went through radiation and chemotherapy, but for him, you know, it was out of our hands. It was like, come on, let's hope this works, and if it doesn't, it's out of our hands. But the cure is in the kitchen. Why won't they just eat? You know?
Yeah, big question mark. Psychological issue for sure.
Right, absolutely.
Lots more coming up tonight on 6 News at 11.
Thank you. Our special Friends for Life series focusing on men's health continues tonight. When you hear the word anorexia, you probably think teenage girl or young woman. But for 9 years, the eating disorder controlled an Okemos boy's life. In part 2 of 9-Year Nightmare, our Siobhan Klepfer explains why things only got worse when TJ Warshevsky turned 18 years old. And tonight, we're taking a very stark look at the realities of what he went through. And we want you to know that it could be tough to see, but it's very important to know how this terrible illness affects people.
4 years of high school, 4 years of college, a semester at dental school, not one person called me. Not one teacher, not one coach, not one therapist, not one friend. No one called me. Why didn't someone call me? To look at the way he looked, and they said, he's an adult. We can't call you up. He's an adult.
The moment TJ Warshevsky turned 18, the fight to beat his anorexia turned into a fight to save his life.
TJ walked in to the doctor, peace out. You know, he doesn't have to tell him what he weighs. He doesn't have to go. You know, yeah, I can't find out what he weighs. Nobody will talk to you as a parent because he's 18.
After TJ's first term at Albion College, Susan had had enough. He was 5'5" and down to 85 pounds. Knowing how important college was to TJ, she refused to continue paying for it until he went to a residential treatment program in Wisconsin. After 2 months, TJ gained 20 pounds and said all the right things in order to go home. That's what this illness does. He did go home. He shouldn't have. And it didn't take long before TJ was losing weight again. His body, his mind, and his effort was fading away. 2 more stays at the treatment center failed. Even a car accident and a short hospital stay wasn't enough to scare him into eating. Nothing and no one could help him. Near the end, TJ wouldn't consume any calories, nor fat, nor sugar. His body was shutting down. And soon, this once active athlete doing 1,000 sit-ups a day, spending 4 hours at the gym, hours playing sports, taking a full load of classes, he got so weak and so frail that walking up the stairs, carrying a platter of food, was just too much. And after a semester at dental school, Susan got the phone call she'd been fearing for years.
I started screaming, and then my sisters said, no, no, no. She knew right away. And everybody started screaming and crying, and I tried to his last breath to get vitamins in him, but it was too late. He didn't make it. His heart just had enough. He couldn't survive it anymore.
TJ died doing sit-ups. He was just 22 years old. It was Valentine's night.
When they called me and said, you might want to come and see if you want an open casket, you know, when I went to hug him, they had stuffed his suit with newspapers. You know, so he crinkled, and it was awful.
This is a really tough story to see. I know that TJ's mom is really working to help other people so they don't have to go through the same thing that her son did. I knew TJ when he was in high school, so it's really hard to see.
Yeah, it took her a while, but she wrote a book. It's called Dying to Be Perfect. It's available on Amazon right now, and she just hopes this book will help other people who may have a loved one battling an eating disorder, man or woman, girl or boy. So you can pick this up, and everything that I just told you in part 1 and part 2 and much, much more is inside here. So
very good. Now, what can people do to help other people who are going through this same thing?
Yeah, well, learning the warning signs and getting professional treatment right away. Now, I spoke to a psychologist at Michigan State University, Kelly Klump, who specializes in treatment and research of eating disorders, and this is what she had to say.
Eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any psychiatric disorder. You know, unfortunately, the longer an eating disorder, and in particular anorexia nervosa, goes on, the harder it is to get out of it. So we know that once somebody starts dieting and starving themselves and exercising excessively, something kicks in neurobiologically in the brain that makes it incredibly hard to get out of that pattern.
If you can compare it to a schizophrenic person, or a bipolar person. If you say just be the good side of your personality, not the bad side, or just be the happy side, not the sad side, that is ridiculous, and people understand that that's ridiculous. So to say eat to somebody who's anorexic is just as ridiculous. But people don't understand that.
She makes some very, very valid points.
Absolutely, yeah. And for more information on eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, for a link to Susan's book on Amazon, we have all of that under the Scene on 6 section of our website, WLNS.com. But that was really Susan's big message is this is an illness. You know, a lot of people, my son or daughter has cancer. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. My son or daughter has an eating disorder. Oh, people just don't understand, but it is an illness. So.
Well, your story's been very, very educational, and we know that will definitely help some other families. Thank you.
And so does Susan.
All
Sure,
right.
thanks.
We conclude our special Friends for Life series dealing with men's health tonight. When you think of health problems that a 26-year-old man could face, a stroke is probably not one of them.
Yeah, but that was exactly what happened to one of our own right here at TV6.
Doctors told the parents of Justin Creed that they should start preparing for the worst when he was airlifted to the hospital after he had a stroke almost 7 years ago.
Now tonight, Justin shares his story with us so that you and your family know the warning signs.
Terrifying. I was so afraid you could die.
Your typical sunny Wednesday morning was anything but typical for me. I was woken up with an intense headache and dizziness. I was having a stroke. My mother recalls that terrifying day.
He was hollering, "Somebody help me, help me." And when I got to him, he was laying on the bathroom floor, and I said, he said, "Call 911, I'm having a stroke." It's not something a mother thinks is going to happen to their 26-year-old son.
But a stroke is exactly what I was having. The paramedics came within minutes and rushed me to St. Joseph Mercy Livingston Hospital in Howell. Once there, I was going in and out of consciousness. A robot who is controlled by a doctor located at a different hospital in a different city evaluated me. Dr. Ramesh Madhavan explains how this technology, which is about 10 years old, is so important when saving stroke patients.
It is important because we do not have physician expertise in rural areas, in community hospital setups, in locations where specialty physicians are not available. And this is where telemedicine is growing in a big way.
Dr. Madhavan is able to maneuver the telemedicine robot right to my bedside to assess the symptoms. It was determined that I had to be airlifted to St. Joseph's Stroke Center in Pontiac. This technology possibly saved my life.
Time is the key. Every minute is lost. More and more brain cells are dying.
Unlike most strokes, mine was caused from trauma. My vertebral arteries were ripped, forcing my body to naturally form a blood clot to fix the tear. Doctors could never pinpoint what caused my arteries to rip, but most strokes are caused from poor health. So exercising, eating healthy, and not smoking can help prevent one.
These are what we refer to as modifiable risk factors. These are things that you can impact to actually prevent or reduce your risk for stroke.
There are many signs that you can tell if someone near you is having a stroke, but the most important is timing.
Remember the word FAST, an acronym for stroke. F for face drooping. A for arms. When asking the person to raise their arms, is one lower than the other? S stands for speech. Is their speech slurred? If they reveal any of these symptoms, T stands for time.
Time is of the essence. It is what separates what we had been doing remotely as let's see how things go to we actually have a plan of intervention that can definitely make an impact.
As the turkey, cranberry sauce, and mashed potatoes get passed around the table this Thanksgiving Day, I think back to that day in July 6.5 years ago and realize having good health, a family, and a team of doctors that reacted fast is what I'm most thankful for.
Yeah, right, without our health, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
just enjoying it. Again, I just want to touch you guys. I had no idea you went through this. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty scary.
You're doing okay now, and do we know what caused your stroke?
You know, it's
They don't know what caused it. I was involved in a very serious car accident about 4 years before this, so they think maybe the whiplash caused the arteries to rip, so I was more or less a walking time bomb. I was whitewater rafting just a few days before the actual stroke hit, so they think the whitewater rafting also helped it, not so much caused it, but yeah, the jarring back and forth inside the raft probably didn't help.
Yeah, and I know you and I talked about timing about this, and also when you were in the bathroom, like the room was going like this, and then it tumbled over top of each other. It's just so many symptoms.
And then I reached for the door handle, and that's when I actually forgot how to turn the door. My brain actually I forgot how to turn a door. That's how much your brain, that's how important your brain is you.
So timing really is everything.
Oh, it is.
For you to yell out to your mom, help me, help me.
Absolutely. If there's anything you take from this, it's the warning signs. Is their speech slurred? Is their arms not level? And then time. Get them help. Get them help. Even if it's just a migraine or a headache, time is really...
Yeah, don't mess around with this stuff, I guess.
Absolutely.
Our special Friends for Life series continues dealing with men's health issues tonight, and we are talking about this evening the #1 killer of men in the United States.
And it is a silent killer, heart disease. It claims the lives of more than 500,000 men in America every year.
And tonight you're about to meet a man who almost became part of that statistic. He was technically dead in the hospital, but incredibly, he was revived by doctors.
And as our Jay Sarkar shows us tonight, he's taken steps to regain his health, and he's really making the most of his second chance at life.
I've had 2 surgeries, 14 cardioversions, a mini stroke. I flatlined.
From flatlining on the operating table to leading the Lansing Heart Walk earlier this year, Wendorf has decided to give back and spread awareness for the cause.
And I thought that was very important, that we need to make that more aware, that just what's on the outside is not what's always on the inside.
Our special Friends for Life series dealing with men's health issues continues tonight, and we have been telling you this week how heart disease is the #1 killer of men in America.
But did you know that according to GM and the UAW, it was also the #1 cause of death and disability among auto workers?
Well, our Alexandra Illich has more on how data from MSU researchers will now help companies everywhere to promote a healthier workplace.
It turns out General Motors has had a health and wellness plan in place since the 1980s to promote healthy living. For free, workers can have their blood pressure and cholesterol levels checked, get information including exercises to do, foods to eat, and life steps to stay healthy.
And that awareness is helping carry over into our personal lives at home and with our family.
And bow season started up in Michigan just a few weeks ago, and the even more popular firearm hunting season is beginning in just a few days.
Yeah, but the deer these hunters are after aren't the only ones at risk, and our Haley Herzog tells us why it's so important to hunt the healthy way.
No matter which weapon you reach for when hunting, hunters like Drew Youngdyke know the most important thing you bring with you in the hunt is your health.
It is a physical athletic activity to go out there, whether you're hiking out to your tree stand, carrying a tree stand, even if you're sitting in a ground blind. Once you go out to retrieve a deer and you're hauling it back, that's a physical activity.
Our special Friends for Life series focusing on men's health continues tonight. Advancements in cancer treatment are helping patients live longer, higher quality lives. Jim Geyer visited the University of Michigan Comprehensive Cancer Center and talked to 2 cancer research doctors who are working to find new and specific treatments for prostate cancer.
Dr. Arul Chanayan and his colleagues at the University of Michigan Cancer Center are leading the way in finding new ways to target and treat prostate cancer. And it's a big step beyond what has up to now been the standard go-to treatment.
The conventional treatments, like for example, most chemotherapies, attempt to try to target the tumor, but they end up also damaging normal cells.
Well, Jim joins us now. Now, are there ways for patients to actually get involved in these treatments, Jim?
Yeah, in fact, the researchers at the Cancer Center are always looking for patients who pretty much have run out of options. Maybe everything they've tried has not worked. And if you think you might be a candidate for the newest treatments that are being developed, ask your physician to contact the Cancer Center.
The Men of 6 News are growing out their facial hair for No Shave November, but the Men of Radio in town are also ditching the razors, including Josh Strickland of 97.5 now, who is now growing out his beard for another special reason.
Hey, it's Josh Strickland from 97.5 Now FM. November is Men's Health Awareness Month, No Shave November. We're gonna have some growth. But listen, this is why I'm doing it. It's been a crazy year. My dad passed away earlier this year related to heart disease. Over the past couple of months, I've done some things that I've never done before, going to the doctor, having, you know, tests and all that kind of stuff done. 36 years old. It's about that time to get into the practice of seeing the doctor regularly and making sure that all is good. So that's what it's all about this month. No Shave November. Get ready.
Look at you with that beard.
I don't know. What do you think?
It looks a little scruffy. I mean that in the nicest possible
in the nicest
way right now. But you know,
Uh-huh.
this is the No Shave November we're going through, and you guys here at the station and all over the community are deciding not to shave for a good cause.
Yeah, we certainly are. The Men of 6 News aren't only the ones taking part in No Shave November.
Yep.
Tim Barron, also of Radio Michigan, is also taking part and shared with us why he's growing out his facial hair.
As we focus this week on heart health, what I have learned is to keep moving is the key. I've got coming up a couple of heart tests. Am I excited about it? Not really. Is it recommended? It is, but I'm glad I'm doing it because although I'm apprehensive and I really don't want to do it, I want to live. And that's the basic thing I think everyone's learning as we get into men's health this month, is that people don't want to do these things, but they really must. So, move forward, do your treadmills, get your numbers run. Guys, keep it safe. Stay alive.
Well, it's hard not to notice the men here at TV6, including our Justin Krieg, growing out the facial hair, right? Not something you normally see on TV for anchormen.
I'm going to see if I can continue doing it through December and be Santa Claus.
Might need to just dye it.
There you go.
Gray or white. Yeah, that could work. We aren't the only ones taking part. This is a nationwide thing.
It is.
But also our friends Mike Marino and John King of Mike and John in the Morning at WHMI, they are taking part as well. And they shared with us why they're putting their razors down.
We'd like to say hello to Siobhan. Hi, Siobhan. Siobhan. How you doing? Siobhan's been in the studio here. And, she hasn't left. And, right, and now the restraining orders will come out. But nonetheless, we like to work together with Channel 6 and promote men's health issues. So we're in week 2 here. We got the beards growing and the itchiness is... Is there anything for the itch?
I love those guys.
Is there anything for the itch?
Why are you asking me?
Well, I don't know.
I didn't grow out my facial
Apparently I'm not
hair.
the only one asking.
I don't have itch. What are you getting at? Oh, boy.
Welcome back. All month long, the Men of 6 News have been putting the razors down to raise awareness for men's health.
And they aren't alone. People across the country participate in No Shave November every single year. And even though you can't see him, a Mid-Michigan radio broadcaster is taking part as well. I'm Mariah Harrison, joining us live now from 97.5 Now FM with Josh Strickland. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Siobhan and Justin. We're going to pick up right where we left off with Josh Strickland here. We were talking about why this November, the month of men's health focus, is so important to you, and we were talking about your dad.
Yeah, well, you know, my dad passed away earlier this year, and it was unexpected, and so that sparked my decision to get to the doctor and just start that process. And so, you know, I went to the doctor, no symptoms of anything, but come to find out, I got high blood pressure. And so, you know, that just for me crystallized the importance of getting to the doctor, because you don't know what's going on. So my message to guys is, I know it's tough, you know, but listen, once you do it, you actually feel better just having done it. Just mentally you feel better.
So, Siobhan, I asked you a question at the end of our last live segment. I asked you to look at Josh's beard. I asked you to look at Justin's beard. You know, I don't think I can tell which one is my favorite.
All the guys from Wlns.
I like your color.
No, really?
Yes, I like the color of your beard because it's different. Yours is it's got a little reddish tinge.
So both of ours are very thick.
They are, yeah.
Josh and mine are coming in good.
Good for you guys.
So,
Not
yeah.
everybody can grow a nice thick beard. A lot of people are jealous of that. So there you go.
There you go. But you know what a great point that he made. Every time you ask about this, we get to talk about men's health. So way to go, Josh.
Well, all month long, our media partners have been participating with us in No Shave November to raise awareness about men's health issues. And while some of them just couldn't cut it, Tim Barron at Radio Michigan made it all the way to the end. Take a look.
Men's health has been advanced by this 1 month at Channel 6, and I want to thank Channel 6 for involving me. I want to thank my listeners and people that came up, said hi at the grocery store and out at events, heard all month from people. The bottom line is be in touch, listen to your doctors, listen to your own body, and then get tested for things as time comes up.
All right, very well said, and great job, Tim. Way to go. In fact, we've seen a lot of beards being worn at the station and around town, and it was all for a very good cause. A full month that saw all the men here at our station, both on the air and behind the scenes, taking part in No Shave November. This is a really cool video. You're going to see everyone's beard grow over that time. It was all part of our push for men's health. And we want to thank each and every one of them, as well as our local radio station DJs, for joining us in our effort. It's really been a great month of stories here at TV6, and we hope you and your loved ones have a better knowledge of all the health issues facing men. Tomorrow, December 1st, you get to shave them off, and that includes Jay. He's in for Fred tonight. Are you excited about that, shaving that?
You know, Sherry, I think the most shocking thing about wearing this beard is it didn't tank my dating life. So, you know, it's not all terrible, but
That's exactly
I'm ready for it to go.
Okay,
I'm ready for it to go.
Now, Dave, we can see that your beard is really looking full after a full month of growth, really part of our push for men's health and our No Shave November,
We use that term full beard very loosely with me, but it's filling in. I kind of hate to see it go, but I mean, we're gonna be shaving those off tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So
I know, right?
New look tomorrow.
You tune in tomorrow. Jim Geyer and myself, we're going to be doing that live on the noon show, kind of the before and after look.
Okay, I like it. Well, all the men at our station, including lots of people behind the scenes, took part in No Shave November. Here's a look at the picture they took on the 1st of November. Now, it had been a long, long time for our on-air men since they actually had a beard. Now, this is the before picture. Now, let's see the after.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of beards being worn at the station and around town. You know, of course, it was all for a really good cause. And in fact, some local radio station DJs also joined us in this effort. And we want to thank them for joining us. And I guess you could say almost everyone wanted to get on the act, the No Shave.
Those are looking great, ladies. And I mean, that was quick. That's pretty impressive.
It was interesting to see how long it would take you guys to grow your beards. It took a whole month, we saw.
Yeah. You know, I'm pretty sure, you don't tell Sherry, but I'm pretty sure she dyes her beard. What do you think? It's a little dark there.
What beard? What beard?
Yes, what beard? What are you talking about?
Good.
It has been a really great month of stories right here, and of course it was all for men's health, and we just thought it would be fun to wrap things up in a special way, we gals.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for taking part in this special series, our Friends for Life campaign.
The men of 6 News, they put the razors down for the whole month of November for No Shave November. They've been growing it out, though, for awareness for cancer, men's health. They've been donating what they would have spent on razors and shaving cream to cancer awareness and things like that. So, been a great, great thing all month long, Movember, No Shave November. But today, gone. Yep. We're taking it back to where it all started. Our Justin Cree, meteorologist Joe Galato joining us from Aftershave in Okemos to say goodbye to their growth this past month. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Siobhan, Emily, thank you. You know, November was quite the hairy month, to say the least. We watched it grow and grow and grow, and thinking back to, like you said this morning, it's finally time to say goodbye to No Shave November because it's no more. And thinking back to it, we actually remember of why we started this, for cancer awareness. We put the razors down to spread awareness throughout all of mid-Michigan, to let the people know, to let the guys know for Men's Health Month that it's important to go get checked and get screened. And that was the whole reason why we started it. I'm now joined by meteorologist Joe Galato, who's actually at work right now getting the beard off. Joe, how important was it that we did this, that we wanted to convey the message that men's health is important?
Well, it was very important. I know walking around the past couple of weeks, people coming up to me and saying how they appreciate that we're raising awareness for men's health, and you know, it's just been a great feeling overall to know that throughout the community we are raising awareness and people are getting checked out and maybe saving lives throughout the month of November.
Were you impressed with yourself, how you could grow a beard throughout the month of November?
Honestly, I thought I'd have a bigger beard by the end. I guess most of it's off by now. But it came in all right. A little bit lighter than my hair color, which was a bit awkward, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun time.
All right, Joe, thank you. Well, we're going to send it back to you guys. Joe's going to continue to lose some weight here as his beard falls to the floor. We'll check back with you guys a little later.
Here at 6 News, the men of TV6, both on air and off, grew out their facial hair this past month to bring attention to men's health issues. Those stories were highlighted in our Friends for Life series. But today, we're kissing the beards goodbye. Meteorologist Jim Geyer and David Young joining us live at Aftershave in Okemos, where they're saying adios to their month-long growth. Good afternoon, guys.
Hi, Siobhan. Yeah, we're here at Aftershave in Okemos. Rick is here about ready to begin the process of trimming away that growth that David had for a month here. We can call it that. And again, it was all for Men's Health Month. What do you think? You ready? You finally ready?
I'm ready. My daughter said, no, Daddy, please leave the beard. She likes it. But no, I'm ready to make the transition back to the I don't even call it a beard, but whatever this is, it'll be gone soon.
Okay, and again, Rick is going to be doing this. What's the process, Rick? First you trim it away and then put the shaving cream on? Is that what it is?
Yeah, first we're going to trim the growth away, and then we'll put the shaving cream on, hot lather, hot towel, and then we'll shave it off.
Okay, obviously I'm letting David do it first, and then I'll do it myself too. So yeah, when we come back, we'll see how far along the shave is. So again, we're reporting live in Okemos. I'm Jim Geyer and David Young, 6 News.
Jim, thank you. Yeah, let David go first. There's some sharp tools involved in that, so good thinking. But Joe, you got shaved this morning.
Feels good, right?
Yeah, how was it?
It's been an interesting month. Overall, at first I was excited for it. There was a time when it was a little bit scratchy, but throughout the whole process, it was for the great awareness of men's health. And online, through Facebook, Twitter, and even in person, a lot of people come up to me and explain that they've taken their husbands out, or a guy come up and say, I got checked out.
Yeah.
And even somebody found a slight problem, something really small. It wasn't cancer or anything, but still, that they got checked and they found something out from us to come to me, and to hear that personally, it really felt nice. So I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad.
And it was such an easy thing, really. I mean, aside from the scratching, it's just growing it out, and look what it did.